So, I want to talk about the pandemic. I know that nobody wants to hear about it. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. Um, but what I do want to do is talk about what I'm kind of noticing within myself and within other people I've talked to. When the pandemic started, it was in March. Things kind of shut down, and I think everybody was like, oh, hey, we'll just stay home for a month and then it'll go away and we'll go back to normal. And obviously that isn't what happened. And then everybody kind of pinned their hopes on finding the new normal. But it turns out you can't do that if you can't predict what's happening. When there's so many unknown variables and so many unknown everything, like you can't find normal. It doesn't exist. There's like a day-to-day, and you can go day-to-day, but you can't stabilize the sort of chaos that we're experiencing. Around June, we got to be in less of a lockdown, but we just got stepped back here where I live to, I'm calling it phase 1.5 because it's not as serious as the first one that we had, but it's not as lax as what we've been living. So it's kind of in the middle, and it is definitely a blow to, I think, people that were really looking forward to Thanksgiving and Christmas as feeling normal, because those are very special to a lot of people. So now we have a global pandemic, election hostility, changing seasons, probably ruined holidays, and also life in general is still happening. There's still jobs. You still have to worry about what's for dinner every goddamn night. It's ridiculous. So I think it's unreasonable to expect yourself to be doing good, even okay. I think it's reasonable to have good days and okay days, but as a whole, it's ridiculous. You aren't designed to be okay. If you're doing okay, you probably have really good mental health. I'm not jealous or anything. Shut up. But I think the majority of people are probably struggling in ways that they never have before. And usually when you start struggling, the gut reaction is to just push harder, do better, get tougher, do more work. One of the things that kind of drives me absolutely crazy about, I guess, society in general is something called toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is when a negative thing exists, but it is diminished or it is ignored in favor of pretending that it's not a problem. We are living in a pandemic. That's a problem. Saying that, but we can still have fun, you're not giving those bad feelings that you have about this very crappy, unfair situation. You're just ignoring them. You're not giving them any kind of place. And they exist, whether you fully consciously acknowledge them or not, they're still there. So what I would recommend, what I have been doing a lot, is I'm straight out with toxic positivity. The healthy thing to do is to acknowledge that this is garbage. This is a flaming dumpster fire of awful, and it's not getting better. That's okay to say and feel. That's totally okay, because it's very, very real. On the other side of the coin, though, you don't want to wallow in those feelings and let them drown you. What my counselor always says is that you want to sit in your feelings. And it's kind of like being in a bathtub, I think. Like, if you're sitting, you can still feel the water. It's still there. If it's cold, if it's warm, you can sit in your feelings. But if you're sitting up, you're not going to drown. If you lay down, you're probably not going to drown. It's a metaphor. Can you just pretend, okay? You're not going to drown. But, if you don't try to not drown, maybe you will. So there's a huge difference between just pretending you don't have those feelings and only having those feelings. If you sit in your feelings, let them happen, even if you can't process them quite right, you're allowed to be sad and you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to think that this is all very unfair and terrible, because it is. The one thing that I have been working pretty hard on myself is finding ways to be kind to me. I think particularly for mothers, it can be difficult to allow yourself to put yourself first ever. We are sort of trained to allow everybody else space and voices and feelings, and ours are always in the back, just sort of like hanging out waiting. That's not going to work. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. You can't carry burdens that are crushing you until they kill you. I mean, you can, but why would you do that? What I have been kind of trying to recommend to people that I've talked to is you have to treat yourself like somebody that you actually care about. And for some of you, that's going to sound like a crazy person thing, because why wouldn't you do that? But, that's something that I've had difficulty with. I have always been a very kind, compassionate listener, with advice and trying to help people figure out their problems, but I can never do that with me. I am very unforgiving to myself. I am very cruel to myself. But during this, as I'm finding things harder and harder to carry, I have been trying really, really hard to act like I care about me. And it works. It sounds stupid, but if I pretend that I'm somebody else, it's much easier to just handle stuff. One of the things that we have started doing is I really hate cooking, like a lot. It's so dumb. You do a bunch of work and then you clean up after you're doing a bunch of work. It's so dumb. So we've been doing a lot of takeout, and it's something, and I think this is where the real crux is. It's not like doing things that I think are nice for me is super helpful. What's helpful is allowing it to happen and not using it as a way to feel guilty or to feel bad about myself. Because that's what I like to do. I like to dress self-care up and put it on the stand and parade, and then I like to beat myself up with it. So, if I get takeout, I think about how wasteful it is and how expensive it is and how other people can't afford it and how I could just cook my own food and if blah, 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 blah. But that's not helping. That's not helping me. It's not helping the people who aren't in a fortunate position like I am. It doesn't make their lives better that I feel shitty I'm doing something that's helpful to me. It's really dumb. So I've been trying to get better at that. And I think my only real advice to anybody that's kind of feeling the way that I feel is to find ways to love yourself like you love other people. I know some of you out there that I know personally, you have such an easy time finding compassion and grace for everybody, and you don't believe that you're worthy of it or that you deserve it. I would like to inform you that you're dumb and you're wrong. We're all going to make it out of this at some point. It's going to be harder on some than others, and that's going to suck. But you need to take care of yourself. You cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. You can't give people what you don't have. So I think tonight what you should do is drink a bottle of wine in your bathtub, cry about it for, 20 minutes or so. Wear some leopard print maybe. I don't know. Figure out what works for you. Get some takeout. Eat a giant sheet cake. Grocery store cake? Come on. This is the time where you get to kind of break your rules a little bit. Maybe, I suggested this to one of my friends because she has a hard time shutting down. You can get really deep into Bigfoot documentaries. There's a surprising amount of them. There was that whole show for a while. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to take time to be kind to yourself. I think the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And it's not just being kind. That's the first part, is allowing yourself to be kind. The second part is not using that kindness to torture yourself. Just accept it. Just like you would want somebody that you were helping to just accept it and not beat themselves up over it. You need to pretend you're worth it. And eventually, you might even believe it. I'll let you know.